Good day, family. Once again, we want to welcome you to Family Empowerment Time, where we sit down and get to share experiences which I believe are able to assist us on how we can make the best out of our families and out of our marriages. It's Sabedo here again with you. In our segment today, we're going to be looking at the 4 seasons of marriage, but specifically on the winter season of marriage. And I believe as we continue with our segments, we will also be able to look at the summer season of marriage, the autumn season of marriage, and the spring season of marriage. But I thought since it is winter on this part of the globe, it would be good that we begin with the winter season of marriage because we can easily relate with that. You will all agree with me that when it is winter, it is characterized by cold, it is characterized by harshness, it is characterized by the trees and vegetation changing their color, just like you can see with the golden crest that is behind me, and of course with the grass that is around me. And I believe from those we will be able to pick a few lessons that can enable us to pick when our marriages are going through a winter season, are going through a cold season, and also assist each other on how we can navigate our way out of a winter season as a couple or as a family. Like we have already said, the winter season in marriage is characterized by coldness, there is harshness, and there is bitterness. All of a sudden, the sweet little words that will usually go out begin to be scarce, and there is always that cold shoulder whenever one is supposed to be attended to or responded to. If the husband and wife have a conversation, it now begins to be only about logistics. It's about who will, what, and when. Laughter begins to dry. There is no fun in the house. There is no playing. It's just cold and dry. Conversations end up in arguments. Conversations end up in unresolved conflicts. And the good thing is, unlike the natural seasons which we all are accustomed to and we have no control over them, when it comes into the seasons that our marriages go through, some of the seasons we can create ourselves. It's possible for a marriage to move from summer to winter depending on the people that are in that marriage. Of course, there are seasons which we cannot have control over them. And somebody sitting there or listening to this segment may ask, what brings a couple to a winter season? There are a couple of things that can bring a marriage into a winter season, but I'll just pick on a few and then go on to touch on the emotions, the attitudes, and the actions that are associated with a marriage that is going through a winter season. Number one thing that can bring a marriage into a winter season, it is rigidity. When we speak of rigidity, we are speaking of unwillingness to consider the other's perspective. We're speaking of a situation where your spouse is always right. We're speaking of a situation where communication is just one traffic. We're speaking of a situation where couples or spouse can't work toward a meaningful compromise. We're speaking of a situation where one of the couples just decide to be stiff-necked. He can't be flexible. It is his or her way, or not the way it's supposed to be done at all. And I must do agree that at some point in time, all couples do have differences. They do have difficulties. And these differences or difficulties may be caused by, among many things, the financial status of that family at that time. It could be in-laws, it could be the interference of friends, or the interference of neighbors, or the interference of colleagues at some point in time. And when couples or spouses get to a time where they fail to negotiate their differences, then it pushes them deeper into a cold, harsh, and bitter winter season, which, when it is not taken care of, that family or that marriage may end up in a state where none of them are going to appreciate or like how things have eventually ended in that way. Depending on how the couples will handle that season, some winter seasons can last for a week, some can last for a month, some can last for a year, and of course some can last even for a lifetime. And all of a sudden it just becomes cold in that marriage. There is no more anything to enjoy. And that is where you begin to hear statements like, I am doing it for the Lord. Like I said when we started, that each season is accompanied by certain emotions, certain attitudes, and certain actions. I want us to briefly look at the emotions that characterize a marriage that is going through a winter season. Among the many emotions that you will pick in such a marriage, it is anger, what we will call idiopathic anger. That is anger of unknown origin. Find that all of a sudden one of the spouses just gets angry out of nowhere. Things that will not make him angry, things that he will address kindly and calmly, all of a sudden it just becomes violent when it comes into addressing those issues. There is also the emotion or the affect of disappointment, which, when it is not addressed or taken care of, can throw the affected spouse into a depression and eventually throw him into a state where it may take a while for him to recover. There is also the emotion of loneliness. You feel lonely in a crowd. You could be in a family where there are children. You could be in a family where you are many, and you just feel lonely because the marriage is going through a winter season at that particular time. There is also a deep sense of rejection. You just feel like you're not accepted. You just feel like even if you make a contribution, it is never going to be accepted. It is never going to be taken. And when such emotions begin to show their ugly head, you know that your marriage is going through a winter season. It's going through a cold, a harsh, and a bitter season. It's going through a terrible state. It is When a marriage is going through a winter season, where you will hear, this one is usually common with the female spouse, you'll hear them saying, I am just here for my children. Were it not for my children, I will not be part of what is happening here. You'll hear some saying, if I were not a Christian, I would have long given up. And recently I heard a man saying, I am waiting for my parents to die. As soon as they die, I am filing for divorce. The reason I am staying in this marriage is because I don't want to cause my parents pain. You will know that a marriage is going through a winter season if one of the spouses or one of the partners is no more doing things because he's happy, because he enjoys being in the relationship, but he now begins to do things for the children. He begins to do things to please others other than to enjoy what the marriage has to offer them at that particular time. There is all of a sudden blame shifting, and as this blame shifting continues, you note that it begins to punch holes on the love tank of the marriage. And once there are holes in the love tank of the marriage, no matter how much love can be pumped into the tank, it will never get full until those holes have been taken care of, until those holes have been addressed. And now come to the attitudes. You will all agree with me that a successful marriage is 90% attitude and 10% hard work. So when we speak of an attitude here, we're speaking of the way you think, the way you interpret experiences that you go through in the relationship, that you go through as partners or as spouses in a marriage at that particular season. So when a family is going through a winter season, there's a lot that begins to change about the thought patterns of the couples or the spouses at that particular time. And in most instances, a winter season in marriage is characterized by a negative attitude where you begin to lose hope. I remember the year 2014 to 2018 where I was without a job, and that experience threw our marriage into a cold winter season. All the savings that we had dried up, and the little business that we had as a family, it collapsed, and we had to depend on one stream of income. And of course, it was my wife's stream of income at that time. And a lot of habits had to be changed in the family. We had to relocate. Our kids had to go to a new school. And some of the habits that we had, like eating out after church on Sunday, we had to bring them to a halt because our marriage was going through a winter season. But we bless God that by the grace of God, in 2018, that winter season was over and we entered into our spring, and we began to bud, we began to blossom. And number 3, I want us to look at the actions that are associated with a marriage that is going through a winter season. But of the actions that you will see there, it is assuming the tortoise approach to managing conflict in the family. All of a sudden, one of the spouses will just decide to withdraw into his shell. He doesn't talk. He doesn't want to bring anything on the table. And I want us to know that the marriage season does not change without action, which is positive action. So if each of the spouse decides to withdraw into his shell, then at the end of the day, it means the issues that have thrown the marriage into a winter season can never be addressed. And if they can never be addressed, then the marriage may eventually freeze and die in that winter season. It's part of the actions that you will observe there. It's critical words that will tend to hurt the relationship even further, and to some extent sex becomes a battlefield, and as sex becomes a battlefield, unfaithfulness or infidelity may creep in and bring the last blow into the marriage, and eventually you have a couple who are sexually and emotionally divorced. And like I said when we started, some of the seasons we can create, some of the seasons can just catch up with us as a family. Apostle Paul, when he speaks to young Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse number 9, he says to this young man, do your best to come to me quickly, because Demas has left me. He has fallen in love with this present world. And when you go to verse number 21, he says, do your best to get here before winter. That simply means the winter season is no respecter of anointing. It's no respecter of grace. Whether you're a CEO, or you're a businessman, or you're a minister of the gospel, the winter season at some point in time will catch up with you. And when it catches up with you, you must know who to bring close to you, because it is the people that you bring close to you that will help you pull out of the winter season. The reason Apostle Paul wanted Timothy to quickly come to him before winter, it's because he knew what Timothy was caring for him that was going to help him weather through the winter season that was drawing nigh. So as a family, as you go through a winter season, know who to bring close, and know what the people you are bringing close are bringing into your marriage. Let it be people that are going to warm your marriage. Let it be people who are going to encourage you. Let it be people who are going to stand with you as you are going through that winter season. And I do want to say, when you note these things that we have just spoken about here, know that you are in a winter season in your marriage. Do not give up. Jesus said, it is the sick that need a physician. As soon as you realize that your marriage is going through an unending winter season, do seek help, do seek therapy. Who knows, the melting ice of winter can water the seeds of hope in your marriage. And I want you to know it is possible to move from winter to spring in your marriage. And even as we come to the end of our segments, I do want to say to every family that is going through a winter season, divorce is not the solution. Divorce is not the answer. Weeping can endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Winter is just a season. After winter, there are definitely going to be other seasons which you are going to enjoy. From me and my wife, Slelelwe, we wish you all the best in your marriage. God bless you.